Yo,
What up?
how you doing?
Doing fine. How are you?
Good. We finally saw the full first season of the Suicide Squad Isekai.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about.
It is.
I didn't know what to expect. When I first saw they were doing this, and maybe the first or second episode, because they did like every week had a new episode, I was like, oh come on, is this like a joke? Like, is this real? Like, I didn't really know what the heck what I was getting into.
We also didn't know who was behind it. Obviously Warner Brothers.
Sure.
But like, we're like, are they just pandering to the anime audience?
Yeah.
But it's Warner Brothers Japan
Mhm.
that was behind it, not like overall Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So I think that was sort of stronger when we found that out. And
and Wit Studio also is behind it, and they
Yeah.
did like the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan, which
Yeah.
is kind of like, as goated as you can get, but still it was like a little like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're right though, like ultimately because it is a product from Japan, even though it's based on, characters that we all know, like American characters invented in America, it was worth doing.
Yeah.
And I love that. I as much as everyone loves, Marvel, and we do too, and as much as like DC is really like, you never know with their live action films. They're either the best thing ever, like the Nolan films, or they're like, when you were like, there's an Aquaman 2?
Yeah.
Like,
when came out?
Did that came out? What happened? Yeah. So they're good. But I will say Warner Brothers animation is always superior to Marvel animation, with the exception, obviously, of like the Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah, for sure.
But other than those, like all the stuff that like, especially a lot of the direct to consumer stuff is so good. Like I love, like practically, there's very few times that I've seen a Warner Brothers cartoon that I haven't loved in one way or another.
Yeah.
So let's get into I keep on calling it Just League Isekai.
Suicide
Squad Isekai.
Yeah. So we've been a lot more into Isekai this year. We hadn't really been into it before. We'd seen a few here and there, but this year we found a bunch that we just really enjoyed and have sort of been getting a better feel for Isekai in general.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of prepared us for watching this.
Do people? I mean, I'm assuming most people know what Isekai is now.
I mean, if you don't, it's like it's where your main character like ends up in another world. Sometimes it's a reincarnation kind of thing, but usually they end up in another world.
Generally, a normal person ends up in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
And so so go ahead.
So it's funny because a normal person, pseudo normal when it comes to the Suicide
Well,
Squad.
yeah. I mean, traditionally an Isekai, like Spirited Away, is like considered like the first like big original Isekai.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Isekai, I mean, if you think about it, Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz are also Isekais. Army of Darkness is an Isekai.
True.
Space Jam is an Isekai.
Yeah. So
there, Isekai, it's that, but in Japan, Isekai is a very, very popular anime subgenre.
Yeah. So the Suicide Squad, when I heard that they were doing this, I was like, well, if anything could be an isekai, if any characters could kind of be perfect for an isekai, and for an anime in general, Suicide Squad characters, like particularly Harley Quinn,
very much Harley,
felt straight out of anime in general.
Yeah.
And I think that the characters that they went with for the Suicide Squad and the versions of them they went with were like spot on for doing the isekai.
Yeah, I agree. I think all of the it's funny because I have such a weird sort of I like Suicide Squad. There are elements of both movies, that the live action movies that came out, that I liked. I didn't really get in on any. I think we watched one of the Warner Brothers cartoons. Obviously, didn't play the game, but there was like a lot of. I'm kind of like cool with Suicide Squad, but I've never loved Suicide Squad. And I feel like this version of these characters is my favorite version of the Suicide Squad. Yeah. I think like Harley Quinn is, as you said, like perfect for an anime. I think that like Deadshot is so much cooler than like the Will Smith version.
For sure.
Like I love that he's just a criminal and he's like
non-repentant about that.
He's a badass. He doesn't care. He's like very much he fits in anime so well.
Yeah.
Like that type of character.
And the way that the version of Clayface that they chose for this.
Yes.
Oh my god, like so perfect.
Well, I'm a huge Clayface stan anyway. I was so big into Clayface like when I was a kid from Batman the Animated Series. And then, he shows up in video games and stuff. They've never really done a great job with him in a big way. He was never in one of the big, like Batman movies or anything. So the fact they put him in here and added him to the squad is awesome. And he is like, how would you describe him? He's sort of this like, he is like a movie star. Yeah. He's trying to be like a Casanova. Yeah. He feels as if he's like, like he kind of has like a Sanji vibe almost from One Piece.
I mean, movie star might be,
he fancies himself.
Exactly. Yeah. He definitely has a huge ego.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he is loving every moment of this because he's, in his world, he's the main character.
Yep.
And so he sees this and he's the one at first is like, are we in an isekai?
Yeah.
Of course we are. And I'm the main character.
Yes. But you're right. He does mention isekai quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's very fourth wall that way. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the characters are pretty much the same ones that have been in the movies. Like King Shark.
Yeah.
Peacemaker.
Harley, obviously.
Yeah, Harley, Rick Flag.
Mm-hmm.
And are we missing somebody? I think that's it, right?
On their team,
yeah. And so like I this is just my favorite version of these characters. I think they're all King Shark is just as cool as he was in the last live action movie. I think Rick Flag's great. I think Rick Flag's kind of character that's like I think Joel Kinnaman did an okay job with him in those movies, but it's just like I think like him in this version, I liked him the most.
Well, the thing is that Rick Flag is there to be the straight man.
Yeah.
But they're able to go so over the top with the characters in this that Rick Flag he gets to have a little bit more personality because otherwise if he were just completely straight it wouldn't work at all. He needs to be able to play off them a little bit, and so even he gets to be like these are my guys, I guess,
Right.
So
no, it's true. I also want to point out I love Peacemaker, but I also equally love this version of Peacemaker, who I felt was fundamentally different. I feel like I think what's really cool about this version of Suicide Squad is because it was done by a Japanese house. It was written by, a Japanese writer. The characters, they feel very much the same, but they also have their own vibe. And I feel like this Peacemaker is scary and much more like psychopathic Machiavellianist than maybe the John Cena one that's a little cuter and more fun.
Yeah.
And I like that. I love when they first show up. Peacemaker didn't have his helmet because they had their gear on, and so they put a sack on his head, and so he had a sack on his head, and he sort of looked like Jason Voorhees from Jason 2, Friday for 32, and I was like he was scary, and he was awesome, and they're like, who is this guy? And I thought that was cool, and I just think that the whole. What I think is really cool about this anime in particular is I feel like if you're a fan of anime and kind of whatever about Suicide Squad, I think you'll like it because you'll like the Suicide Squad characters in this world. But I think if you don't know anything about isekai, it's actually a pretty nice way in because they do sort of explain sort of what's going on.
And in a way, it's not as hardcore isekai. Yeah. It's like you said, it's sort of a perfect introductory isekai. Yeah. Now, for the base reason that it is an isekai, the Amanda Waller sends the Suicide Squad in because they were able to find a portal to this other world, and so the Suicide Squad is going in to help with a war,
right?
So that they can essentially negotiate for mineral rights and other things, for resources, and so I mean honestly, you're yeah, this is Amanda Waller up to her tricks. Yeah. But, it's like sending the Suicide Squad in. Well, I guess you wouldn't send the Justice League.
Yeah, no, it's dirty work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love though, very early on they get caught and they get put in like in a prison full of like orcs and other like fairy tale creatures. And I thought that was just such a fun thing because, you know, Suicide Squad, they're like prisoners. You know, jail is their sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so to put them in this fantasy jail, I thought was like really fun and really different. And oh yeah, and also one of the other really cool components of this is almost all isekai. One of the big trends is like I brought up earlier, like a normal person goes into a fantasy world, and they become like the superhero of the world. They get powers, and they're really terrific. And they all you know already kind of have powers. Suicide Squad, but they all get more power when they're there. Like their power, like Harley Quinn gets super strength, and you know Clayface's powers sort of change, and so it's cool also that they're so if you already know the Suicide Squad, they have sort of different. Like a different thing going on.
Yeah. You know, I think just in general though, I think I was surprised at how much I ended up liking it.
Oh, me
you know,
too.
It's like it's not the best isekai I've ever seen, but it's just. It was a really good interpretation of the Suicide Squad and a really good way to do the Suicide Squad as an isekai. I think it was just like, it was smart, it was fun, it was entertaining. When it first came out, it was just in Japanese, but we found out that they've actually like got episodes translated now or dubbed in English now. So
which is cool, which I also think like helps like if you're not really big into anime, you know, I think dubs always help. And if you're hardcore in anime, then you got the original Japanese track. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't excited about this. I actually didn't want to watch it at first because I thought it was going to be stupid.
Yeah.
And I honestly like. I don't know. I wasn't expecting a lot, and I really ended up liking it a ton. And like you said, it's not the best isekai. There's a lot of really good isekai, but I think it's such an interesting experiment of like taking characters that we already know and sort of, you know, shifting them in a way and having fun. And, you know, I think we've seen some other sort of attempts at anime versions of American things over the years.
Yeah, they did some with Marvel, like they did some with years Marvel.
Back. They did, I think, a Batman series. Like they did a Batman where it was like a bunch of shorts.
Yeah,
like they were anime. But I feel like this one is like a very clear like push to do a thing.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the Joker is also very interesting.
Yeah. So he's obviously not part of the Suicide Squad, but he shows up in a bunch of Harley flashbacks.
Yeah, and I know his version of the Joker is a little like we were talking about, is a little Jared Leto.
A little Jared Leto, a little like he's kind of a mix of some of the different ones, but but I like the drawn smile. Yeah.
I like his look. I like everyone's look. I actually don't think I dislike anyone's character design in this.
No.
Yeah, I think it's really strong. And of course, like people have probably already seen like the end title sequence.
Oh my god!
On like TikTok or Instagram.
So worth sitting through.
So good.
Oh my god!
It's so good.
Oh,
it's so
Amanda
funny.
Waller.
Yeah, she's got moves. She's got moves. She does. You know. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. And there's a dragon, of course.
Yeah.
Gotta have a dragon.
Gotta have a dragon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in the end, I recommend it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.